Grand Rising this great Friday. Hope everyone's doing well. Grand Rising LJ Free, Grand Rising Pamela Hall, Grand Rising Rich Tiller, Grand Rising David Corey, Grand Rising to anybody's name I missed. And give us some ones if we are coming through, and give us some twos if we're not coming through. What's going on, Bones and Nocella? How y'all doing?
Two,
Nothing
two,
much.
one, two.
Grand
Peace.
Rising, everyone. Peace, peace. Glad everybody caught the cab.
Yep. Peace, everybody. Mic check. 1, 2, 2, 1, 2.
Just sharing these links out real quick.
Okay, Free says we're coming through. Good. That's good. David says we're coming through. Good. That's also good. I'm gonna see about making sure I'm not blasting everybody's ears. Scale mine's back, so. Alright. Grand Rising Golden Moon.
Peace, Golden Moon.
Man, is it me or did this week go by extremely fast?
Pew!
Like a Testarossa.
Yeah. I like that one. Like the Ferrari?
I'm not even. I ain't gonna start them blame me. No.
No one's going to blame you. Not today anyway. Not today. So I did a training last night on uh, the nonprofits and the HUD Section 3, and then getting back tied in the trial. So I'll be doing a genealogy come this Friday. No, Sunday at 3 o'clock. So we're gonna be doing a Zoom. So it's gonna be like 6 people. One person who's got family from Puerto Rico. The other one has family from Haiti, and then there's one person from South Carolina, and then the other three are from North Carolina. So it's gonna be interesting. So I'll definitely keep you posted. Good news is they were definitely excited. Grand Rise and C.A.B. The link's in the chat if you're able to come on. So how's everybody else's day go yesterday after we got off the YouTube?
Meetings, and more meetings, and more meetings.
Well, you should know that was gonna be coming, especially after what's been going on and some of the good news you've been having. So I would expect nothing less. What about you, No Sellout?
Yard work and sleep.
Wait, what?
I had a meeting with my garden.
Ah, okay. That's what's up.
And then a meeting with my bed.
Those are sometimes those can be some good meetings. There could definitely be some good meetings.
It was a good one.
So we finally finished up with the nonprofits. Covered everything from the 501c1 all the way to the 892 A.B., which were foreign entities. So today, as you can tell by the screen, we will be covering the state strategies to subvert fraudulent uniform commercial code filings. Like I had indicated yesterday, that the State Department, Secretary of State, they are prepared to deal with these UCC code filings because they're clogging up the court systems, they're clogging up UCC filing systems, and it's causing more time and money being invested than what was originally intended. So it has the FBI on alert, and they're looking at these individuals that are filing these UCC codes fraudulently, as terrorists. So we're gonna cover exactly what the National Association of Secretaries of State um, and the International Association of Commercial Administrations, what their plans are and how they are dealing with individuals who are filing these UCC codes fraudulently and what their countermeasures are. So I will go ahead and put the link
Quick
for,
question.
for this in the chat so people can follow along.
Quick question, TMH.
Now, what you got?
Did you say that folks who use the UCC codes fraudulently are considered terrorists?
Well, I didn't say that, but the FBI did.
Did you did you relay that they are considered terrorists if they fraudulently use this?
Yeah, the FBI considers them domestic terrorists, and they're pushing to put it this way: the the federal government wants to push heavy felony fines, including incarceration.
For as simple as filing these things and holding up to court.
Yeah, because some people, not all, again, understanding that these UCC codes are being pushed as a means to, free yourself from the system and, get from up under some of this debt that was either placed on you intentionally or unintentionally. So the majority of the people that are using these codes are using them under the guise that it's legal and that they're not hurting or harming anybody. No different than, you get some information and you share it and you spread it. But what they're not being made aware of is that this is illegal. The way that it's being used and it's being told, it's being taught. So their intentions, however honorable and honest that they may be, the federal government is looking at it like a terrorist act because of how it's clogging up the system and how it's backlogging everything. And it's causing problems in some people, a few, because all it takes is one or two apples to spoil a whole bunch. So you got some people using it to place liens on public officials and government officials and judges and prosecuting attorneys and even some defense attorneys if they're not, if the people are not getting what they want. So you know how the government does. They're lumping everybody in this one basket unfairly. So, a person who's innocently coming across this information and, they see it or they get on a phone call and someone starts spitting and sprouting that this stuff is legal and they have to adhere to it, then, of course, the average person is going to, start using it, especially if they see that it's working. So it is our job to express and expose this information to people to let them know that the potential and inherent dangers. So yes, to answer your question, even though I was being a tad bit long-winded, the FBI looks at those who fraudulently file these UCC codes, either intentionally fraudulently or unintentionally fraudulently, as an act of terrorism. And people may want to take a look at the Patriot Act and how they, meaning the U.S. government, deals with terrorists. When they come get you, you don't have a right to a trial, and you don't have a right to an attorney. They can pretty much lock you up indefinitely until they feel like letting you go. So, again, this is just information to help people understand what they're dealing with when they deal with these codes. So, hopefully that answers your question.
That was not long-winded. I appreciate everything that you just said. Clarification.
Okay. So yeah, Kerry, it's paper terrorism. This ain't nothing to play with. And like I said, the National Association of Secretaries of State have a division called NAS to specifically deal with this. So, Bones, you got anything that you wanna say about it before we delve into this?
No, but it's a good build that a lot of people should pay attention to because a lot of us have friends or relatives that made attempts at trying to do this.
Yeah. And even if you have experience with these UCC codes, if you've had experience with them and it was legal and you didn't have any issue, there's a call-in number. We would love to hear from you. Or if you've had an issue with these UCC codes and the outcome was not great, we would still love to hear from you because at the end of the day, it's about presenting this information from I guess for lack of a better term, unbiased point, as unbiased as it can be. And if this information we're providing is fraudulent and it can be disproven, we encourage you to please provide it so that we can set the record straight. So I'm going to go ahead and let me see something. I think this is one of the times where I may need to share my screen or try to share my screen. So give me a second, see if we can do this. Hold on that minute. Give me a second. I don't know if for those of you who are going to have these devices, if you'll be able to see the screen, but we will definitely try. That way you'll be able to see what I'm reading, even though I put the link in the chat so you can follow and keep up. I want you to be able to see that this is not something we're making up. See that this is very serious. Alright, so bear with me for a moment and I'll move some things around on the screen. Alright. Let's see. Alright, so I'm going to transition the screen and you'll be able to see what I'm reading from if you're using your tablet, Chromebook, laptop, Apple device, you should be able to see it. If you're using your phone, it might be a little bit difficult. So we're going to try this for the first part of the reading and we're going to see how this goes. So I'm going to go ahead and transition my screen now. Grand Rising Copper Color Queen, hope all is well. So let me go ahead and magnify this. As you can see, got the table of contents, endnotes, footnotes. So we're going to start with the introduction. Like I said, we're going to want you to see what I'm reading from so you can see this, because this is how serious this is. This is not a joke, this is not a game, and this is not a prank. So let's go ahead and get into this and start reading. If you have any questions, we'll do our best to answer those questions. So the introduction reads: the vast majority of uniform commercial code financing statements filed with the Secretary of Officers are legitimate documents authorized by relevant parties. However, financing statements with no legitimate basis under the UCC, often referred to as fraudulent or bogus filings, are a persistent problem for state filing offices and the individuals targeted by these spurious claims, often used as a retaliatory measure by government separatist groups, members, prison inmates, and others looking to harass or intimidate public officials and corporations, lending institutions. These filings can create serious financial difficulties for victims. So I want you to pay close attention to how they are framing this. They're starting out the statement with the fact that it is a legitimate means to make sure legitimate documents are authorized by relevant parties. And then they go on in the rest of the paragraph and frame the fraudulent and bogus filings. And then they start naming the victims, or they start painting you a picture of who's the target. And then they end their case by saying that, it's creating serious financial difficulties for victims. So please pay attention to some of these keywords and some of the phrases, because it's letting you know how serious this is. And it goes on in the second paragraph to read, while various judicial and administrative remedies are available to those who believe that a filing has wrongfully named them as a debtor, there is a general feeling amongst the nation's secretaries of state that more can and should be done to address this issue. Removing a bogus lien from the public registry can be a costly and time-consuming process. In most states, this action requires a court order, tying up the court system. The legal expenses that are involved can run thousands of dollars, a civil situation, and the process can take months or even years. Restoring damaged credit histories can take even longer. Now you're talking in terms of time, what the damages can be. Collective efforts by states to subvert fraudulent UCC filings date back to 2004. When the National Association of Secretaries of State and the International Association of Commercial Administrators developed recommendations to help state filing officers promulgate a more uniform nationwide response to the problem. The recommendations, updated in 2006, include the adoption of a clear judicial remedy for victims of bogus financing statements, along with stronger civil and criminal penalties for those who submit these claims. So they let you know what the intent is: to create and enforce stronger civil and criminal penalties. So anytime you talk about civil, you're talking about financial reclamation and making people pay, and of course criminal, that ends up being some type of fine dealing with time. Given the dramatic increase of the number of fraudulent UCC filings during the past few years, state officials are now working under the auspice of NAS to identify additional ways to provide victims of bogus filings with expedited relief. Members of the NAS Business Service Committee have also urged states to contemplate faster, less costly options for keeping bogus liens out of the public records. The role of the Secretary of State's office and its level of authority in the filings process are typically at the center of this latest push. Nearly half of all states have implemented their own legislative approaches to subverting fraudulent UCC filings, and more than a dozen of them have given the state filing office greater influence and oversight in the process. So basically what they're telling us is that more than half of the states have already put policies and procedures in place. This report is designed to provide state filing officers and the government agencies with an understanding of these relatively new laws, as well as the issue they seek to address. Section 1 provides background information on the rise of fraudulent filings, shedding light on a growing sovereign citizen movement and the most common types of bogus filings. Section 2 provides an overview of the Uniform Commercial Code and the important influence that this model law has on the role and authority of state filing offices. Section 3 outlines the 2006 NASS IACA Task Force recommendations and highlights recent state approaches to the proliferation of bogus filings. So basically what they're saying is they've been knowing about this and they've been putting the plan in place since 2004. We are in 2019. So this stuff is already underway. And just because people have been doing this and getting away with it, I'm not talking about the people that are doing it under the auspice of trying to get some form of relief. I'm talking about the people that are maliciously doing this and thinking they're getting away with it. Just because you're getting away with it doesn't mean that you got away with it. So this is a plan of action, and they're countermeasures of how they're going to
What that is.
Go ahead.
Problem with that is individuals don't know how the government works. If you haven't got away with it, they keep enough of it on file, and when they catch up with it, that's when they're going to press charges. It takes a minute for them codes to go in and for somebody to realize, okay, this is tying it up. So they building the case. FBI will work on something 3, 4, 5 years before they come and rain down on you.
So now what this document is going to do is it's going to talk about the party that they're going after, and they're going to start defining who these individuals are. And again, they understand that the majority of these people that are doing this are not ill-intended. They understand why this is happening, and they understand what is happening. But because it's causing a financial hardship with the Secretary of State, somebody's got to pay. Somebody needs to be the fall guy or gal, or fall gals or guys for this issue. It's not going to be able to ride forever. So the purpose of us presenting this is to hope that if anybody has been doing this and are not aware that this is criminal act or civil act, that they correct their course. So the rise in fraudulent UCC filings. Bogus UCC filings have become more common in recent years due to the explosion in a number of people who identify with an anti-government belief system called the sovereign citizen movement. Already this is going to be a problem because they're saying that these individuals, by filing these UCC codes, they're lumping everybody into this one group unfairly, saying that you are, or whoever files these UCC codes fraudulently, either knowingly or unknowingly, are part of an anti-government belief system.
Which I can't knock them from saying that. Because if you're using these codes here trying to go against the government, by default, what are you?
You're anti-government. So, and which is true. I'm just trying to, I guess, be understanding to the people that are doing this and not knowing. Because it's one thing to do something and not know it, right? Know that you're doing it and know that it's harmful. But it's another thing to know that you're doing it, continue to do it, and get other people to do it. Now, see, that's something totally different. See, so we're basically addressing two issues here. Those that know about this and know that it's illegal and have already been reached out to and are still continuing to do it because they, think they can get away with it. And those that are doing it for relief because they're just trying to get up from up under a bad situation and don't even know that it's considered a criminal act. So then it goes on to read, a loose network of individuals living across the U.S. who believe that the government is illegitimate. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, has designated sovereign citizens as a domestic terrorist movement and a growing threat to law enforcement. By some estimates, there are as many as 300,000 sovereigns in the United States, and their numbers are likely to increase. For many of these individuals, paper-based tactics are used to strike back at government interference with their lives. Numerous websites sell how-to kits or offer to train subscribers on how to perpetrate filing schemes in exchange for large fees. See, so they already know that people are being charged for this. They already know that they're either being charged on websites or that they're using phone conferences. So just because you're not on a website and you don't have a YouTube page, that does not mean they don't know about you. So they even know how these filings are done. And again, Most of these filings utilize telltale buzzwords and share common indicators, including, but not limited to, references to the Bible, the Constitution, U.S. Supreme Court decisions, or foreign treaties, names written in all capital letters or interspersed with colons, signatures followed by the words under duress, sovereign living soul, or a copyright symbol, personal seals, stamps, or thumbprints in red ink, the words accepted for value, copies of personal documents such as birth certificates or social security cards. So they've already read the playbook. They already know the tactics.
Authenticating.
Yeah, authenticating your birth certificate does fall under that too. Be careful.
Hold it now.
So again, these are things that you want to be aware of, that they are aware. The National Association of Secretaries of State. This is not a joke. This is not a non-profit organization like your homeowners association. This is the federal government. They're headquartered at 444 North Capitol Street, Northwest Suite 401, Washington, D.C. This is not a game, people. And it says, according to the American Bar Association, the vast majority of all bogus UCC financing statements also share another important characteristic. They indicate that the debtor is a transmitting utility. This term is used to refer to any person who is primarily engaged in the railroad, street, railway, or trolley bus business, the electric or electronic communications transmission or electricity, steam, gas, or water, or the provisions of sewer services. Fraudulent filers, particularly sovereigns, use this designation in an attempt to assure that their financing statements remain indefinitely on file. So I'm going to stop there. What deems these filings as fraudulent is if you are not any of these entities and you're filing under this section 9, by default is fraudulent.
Yep.
Because you must provide proof that you belong to these entities. And if you can't provide proof, then by its mere nature, it's a fraudulent file.
And the thing that they don't understand is the filing people have to let you file. It's not their job to go through. Even if they know it's bogus, they put it in. The FBI on the other end are the ones that's going to come after you.
It says this is a major, it says under UCC Section 9, transmitted utility filings do not lapse, meaning they never end, so they're up there permanently. This is a major contrast to most UCC financing statements, which, unless continued by the secure party, will lapse after a period of 5 years from the filing date. So, what the National Association of Secretaries of States is saying is that this is intentional. Because once you file it once, that's all you need, and it's up there indefinitely. It's not like you file it, and then 5 years later you have to update it. So there's already showing intent and proof of intent. So it says, in general, there are 3 main types of bogus filings: harassment filings, strawman filings, and authentication filings. It is important to understand the intent behind these submissions so that states can effectively deal with them. Learning to recognize the common indicators within these spurious claims can also be helpful for policymakers and those who work in the state filing offices on the front lines of the UCC transactions. All 3 types of spurious claims will be covered in the following section of this report. Again, they already have the playbook. So if you or someone you know has purchased one of these packets or these kits, they already know it. They already have countermeasures. They're already taking this information down, and they are documenting it, and they are watching. Now, does that mean that you're automatically going to get knocked on, have the FBI knock on your door? they understand when I say they. The FBI understands that people are doing this, and they may be a victim of somebody swindling them or scamming them. They understand that. But at the end of the day, if people are continuing to do this after the information has been sent out, then they're not going to be lenient.
TMA's being nice with this rising. Listen, the main purpose with y'all with these UCC codes is to try to get out of debt, try to put it on file forever. Keep doing it. They coming to see you.
So, harassing filings. It says sovereigns regularly file retaliatory bogus financing statements and real property liens against government officials, corporations, and banks of their employees as a response to a perceived injustice. Judges, prosecutors, and public defenders are also frequently targeted. Although they are not legally effective, victims may spend years battling their false claims, and some may not even realize they have been targeted until they attempt to conduct a property transaction or open a line of credit.
But they can put a lien on you. Nah, not really.
Financing statements filed to harass a target victim often falsely indicate that the debtor owes large sums of money to the filer or purported secured party. Harassment filings have become more common in the past decade as prison inmates have learned about these tactics and adopt them in large numbers. So you got people doing this from prison. For example, a prisoner seeking retaliation against a government official may file an unauthorized financing statement claiming that the official owes the prisoner millions of dollars. I've actually seen one where somebody said they owed 10 quadrillion, which is a number followed by
the woman that did that, yeah. She got some time to think about that though.
Copper Color Queen says, put UCC codes out of your mind. Got it. Copper Color Queen, you know how we operate. We're not just gonna tell you about it. We're gonna show you, because we got to make sure that this information gets out and people are aware. But I feel you. Straw man filings. This is another one of the filings that people who are filing this either intentionally or unintentionally are being classified. So you're gonna be put into one of three buckets. The first one is harassment. And this one is straw man filings. Under a complicated scheme known as redemption theory, sovereign citizens believe that the federal government creates a straw man account at the U.S. Treasury Department, representing the monetary worth of each citizen. An individual straw man account supposedly contains anywhere from $600,000 to $3 million. Sovereign citizens believe that the UCC financing statement allows them to secure an interest in their straw man account and gain access to a secret account holding these funds. This process is sometimes referred to as freeing money from the straw man. The straw man filing will often include the same name for both secured party and debtor. The name of the debtor, the straw man, spelled entirely in uppercase letters. The debtor may also include the words corporation after it. The name of the secured party, the physical individual, is often spelled with an initial capital letters only, and a comma or a semicolon before the surname, e.g. John-Robert semicolon Doe. So that's the third form. And then there's a final form, which is authentication filings. Now, I've heard people use the term filing, authenticating your documents. So, I don't know about you, but I know of people who actually are trying to use these or heard of them. I don't know of them. I just heard of them. It says, aside from harassment and strawman claims, sovereigns sometimes submit fraudulent financing instruments in conjunction with bogus UCC filings to try to mislead third parties about the authentication of the underlying documents. So,
because all they doing is using the railroad and gas filings so it can get in the federal registry. Then they go around showing people, look, oh, it's in the federal registry. Well, they have to put it in there.
Yes, it's breaking down the UCC and the role of the Secretary of State's office and telling you why it's like that. So, It says, in order to understand why so many bogus or fraudulent liens are accepted for recording by state filing offices in the first place, it is important to highlight the Uniform Commercial Code and its influence on the role of the Secretary of State's office. The UCC is a comprehensive model uniform act addressing most aspects of commercial law. The Uniform Law Commission and the American Law Institute are responsible for maintaining and revisiting its content. So this content is revisited by the Uniform Law Commission and the American Law Institute. Okay, so it reads, under revised Article 9 of the Code, Secretary of State offices typically serve as a central filing location for public notices of secured transaction. These public notices, called financing statements, indicate a commercial agreement between a debtor and a secured party. They are used by banks, mortgages, companies, and other lending institutions to determine whether there are existing claims. Hold on. I lost my place. Whether there are existing claims against the collateral of a prosecutive debtor. So it talks about the limitations of the UCC Article 9 in addressing fraudulent filings. Now, this will address why when someone goes to the registry and show you that these filings are there, so they can make them appear that they're legit. Because you got to understand the rules and the regulations and why people are able to do this and make it appear legitimate. So it says, according to the uniform language of the UCC, the Secretary of State's office is limited to its role as a filing office for the public records. The office does not have the authority to verify the accuracy of the validity of the documents when they are filed, even if they are blatantly fraudulent. So I'm going to read this part again. The office does not have the authority to verify the accuracy of the validity of the documents when they are filed, even if they are blatantly fraudulent. So if they don't have the authority to verify the accuracy, then what must they do? They must leave it there until someone verifies that it's fraudulent or not. If a financing statement is submitted with all the required information, the Secretary of State must record the document. In fact, the original text of Article 9 prohibits states from rejecting financial statements unless specific grounds exist for this action. Even then, the reasons for rejection are limited to ministerial issues, such as failure to pay the proper fee, incomplete forms, or ineligible writing. So basically what they're saying, when the original article section was written, the only way that it could be rejected is if the person filing, 1, didn't pay, 2, they didn't complete the form, or 3, it was ineligible, meaning they couldn't read it. Other than that, they have to accept it. So if someone is telling you that they have to accept it because it's right, that's not true. Furthermore, the options available to a person named in an unauthorized financing statement are limited under the UCC. There are 2 main remedies to assist potential victims: an information statement and a termination statement. Formerly known as a correction statement and an information statement can be submitted to the filing office to show that the named debtor would like to be amended, would like the record amended. A termination statement affirms that the authorization financing statement is not effective. The person named as a debtor may demand that the secured party file a termination statement, or if the secured party fails to act, the debtor himself or herself may submit one. Neither an information statement nor a termination statement provides the means to quickly or completely remove the bogus filings. So the 2 remedies that are used to remove these filings don't even get them removed quickly or completely. In fact, the submission of an information statement does not actually invalidate the financial statement. Its only purpose is to provide public notice that the validity of the filing statement is in dispute. So when they file that termination statement or they file that information statement, they're just saying that it's in dispute. Right, LJ Free said that sounds like a setup, giving a person enough rope to hang themselves. And at the same time, Free, if a person files a bogus statement, it could negatively affect the person that's being filed against. and it could take years before it can be remedied. So there are punitive damages. Neither an information statement nor termination statement provides you the means to quickly, completely remove the bogus filing from the public record. In fact, the submission of an information statement does not actually invalidate the financing statement. It only purpose is to provide public notice that the validity of this financing statement is in dispute. Although the filing of a termination statement will indicate in the public record that the unauthorized financing statement is not valid, it does not remove the financing statement from the registry. So it doesn't remove it from the registry. Remember, this is indefinite. Greetings, Doodle Vision. The link is in your that was sent to you via email, so you can come on if you would like. We're talking about the National Association of Secretaries of State's countermeasures for these bogus UCC filings. Although the filing of a termination statement will indicate that the public record that the unauthorized financing statement is not valid, it does not remove the financing statement from the registry. The UCC requires the financing statement, including the termination statement, to remain on record until at least 1 year after it lapses. Good grief. So that means if someone files one of these bogus claims and then you are quick enough to file a termination letter or an information letter, it's by law and by this regulation, it has to stay up there for at least a year. And that's if you know that it's up there. You got to remember, under normal sections, it only stays up there 5 years. But under Section 9, it stays up there indefinitely. Let me scroll up.
But that's the part that the people filing it don't use. If it's there forever, don't that mean you can be charged whenever?
Yeah, you can be charged whenever and however unless you remove it. Especially if somebody has submitted a removal letter and you refuse to remove it. So yes, it's a paper trail. And 9 times out of 10, understanding how disputes work, because I used to be a union steward, they will actually keep it up there for 5 years to further prove that you had no intentions on taking it off, because the normal filing would be 5 years and it will fall off. So they'll probably wait 6 or 7 years, showing that there was further intent to keep it up there indefinitely. So if you on year 3, you on year 4, you on year 5, you basically putting yourself in a bad way.
And FBI will go up to 10, 15 years sometimes to drop something on you. Keep playing.
Okay, it says, however, while victims may file a termination statement to indicate that the financing statement is invalid, potential secured parties doing an electronic record search may miss the fact that the termination statement has even been filed. It should be noted that while there are a number of limitations, the UCC revised Article 9 also permits a person named as a debtor in an unauthorized filing to seek injunctive relief, to include the collection of damages from financial harms brought about the claim, meaning they can sue you. Specifically, individuals who submit unauthorized financial statements may be subject to a $500 penalty per each bogus filing and an additional $500 penalty for each refusal to file a termination statement.
Uh-oh.
So you might be a cyber.
How can they be sued if what they doing is legal though?
That's a great question. The drafters of the UCC revised Article 9 have acknowledged the challenges in dealing with bogus UCC filings, as well as the code's inability to provide a completely satisfactory response to the problem. The drafters' comments have pointed to judicial remedies and the criminal penalties as the most effective and least burdensome approaches. As a result, the NASS and IACA Bogus Filing Task Force devised its 2006 remediations around this notion. One recommendation encouraged states to follow individuals' names as debtors in an unauthorized financing statement to file a motion for judicial review of the filing without paying a fee. I want to stop and say something, because I've been hearing people talk about how the United States Constitution is a law of the land and it supersedes all state jurisdictions. If that was the case, why would they be trying to advise or encourage the states to do anything if the Constitution is the law of the land, they would just merely make a declarative statement, and the states will have to adhere. But that's not the case. So the United States Constitution is not the law of the land. It doesn't supersede
No,
all state laws.
no, never has.
Because if that was the case,
Constitution is what binds the states together as a union. That's it. Oops, said too much.
if you think about it, if the Constitution was the law of the land, would the southern states been able to secede or even attempt to secede? Would there even been a war?
Nope.
Oh, okay, just checking. I mean, I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time, nor the last.
That's when people take information, bits and pieces, and put it out as a new story. The Supreme Court is the law of the land. Let's get it correct.
Under the recommendation on civil penalties, states were urged, not demanded, not forced, to take steps that would allow a person to seek damages, court costs, attorney fees, related expenses, and an injunction against anyone who files a financing statement for the purpose of harassing or defrauding someone. While a number of states have adopted laws that conform to these recommendations, the significant increase in fraudulent filings during the past few years has required some states to consider their own Article 9 legislative initiatives. So that means the states have the ability to have their own initiatives outside of what the federal government has suggested. Many of these new laws and legislative proposals have a direct impact on Secretary of State offices and how they handle the filing of the UCC records. Grand Rising, Marlon P. So we're going to cover some of the state approaches to these fraudulent filings. When the NASS IAC Bogus Filings Task Force recommendations came up for renewal in 2011, secretaries of state decided the problem of fraudulent filings have become so widespread that prolific that the new approaches were needed. Their decisions was based on a shared concern that the NASS and the IACA recommendations continue to place significant burdens on victims as well as the courts, which have experienced so many delays and backlogs due to fraudulent filing cases. Instead, the NASS members decided to examine alternative approaches that would allow state filing offices to play a more active role in subverting these filings, either by expanding the authority of the state filing offices so they can refuse to accept bogus UCC financing statements, or by allowing the offices to quickly and inexpensively terminate financing statements and wipe them from the record under certain conditions. So here's the thing people don't understand it. It has gotten worse since 2004 up to 2011, so much so that they had to reconvene and address this. So even the laws that they were putting in place and urging the states to adhere to wasn't even enough because of the amount of filings. So now they're just giving the states, this Secretary of States, the authority to refuse, which they didn't originally have. So you gotta understand how serious this is.
They do understand how laws are influenced and changed. Enough people do something illegally, oh yeah, it's finna be influenced and changed.
Article 9 amendments impose additional duties on the Office of the Secretary of State, and in some cases, it is the Secretary of State that must determine whether a contested record was, in fact, filed without authorization. Generally speaking, the state laws that address this issue can be categorized into 4 different approaches: pre-filing administrative discretion, post-filing administrative relief, post-filing expedited judicial relief, and enhanced criminal civil penalties. Each of these approaches is discussed in this section of the report, while summaries of the relevant state laws are provided in Appendixes 1 through 4. Again, they got a plan for your hind parts.
Yes, they do.
So, state approaches to the fraudulent filings. Hold on to make sure I'm reading this right. Okay, it says states where Secretary of State's office does not handle UCC filing duties, the report focuses on the equivalent state agent. The equivalent state agents, because not all Secretary of States handle the filings. Some have passed it off to state agents, because again, the states get to determine how they handle these UCC filings. They can only be encouraged by the federal government, not enforced by the federal government. So let's look at the pre-filing administrative remedies. So these are remedies. These are remedies to how they can, how the states are able to subvert or address these UCC fraudulent filings. A pre-filing administrative remedy gives the Secretary of State office board a discretion in rejecting a materially false or fraudulent UCC record submitted for filing. At least 19 states currently have some type of statutory pre-filing remedy. See Appendix 1. Although the scope of the filing office's authority can vary from state to state, for example, Nebraska and Dakota, the filing office may reject financing statements that has the same name listed as a debtor and secured party. In North Carolina, the filing office may reject a financing statement that is outside the scope of the law, intended for an improper purpose or intended to harass someone. In Alabama, the filing office may reject a financing statement that appears fraudulent or has the same name listed as the debtor and secured party. In Texas, the Secretary of State, in consultation with the Attorney General, may reject a financing statement that appears fraudulent. So, depending on the state, will depend on how they handle these pre-filing administrative remedies.
Because you know what else people got to remember? What comes first? Law or the action? Or the action, then they create the law?
The action, then they create the law. You got to realize that the government is a reactionary entity.
And Doodoo laid it out for them that people keep forgetting that the individual states make up the United States. The individual governments make up the federal government. That's why every state has a representative there.
So it says, for a pre-filing remedy to be most effective, it must be comprehensive enough to cover the various types of bogus UCC filings. While some information can be helpful when identifying a strawman filing, e.g. same name for secured party and debtor, harassment and authentication filings require a more general standard. Thus, a comprehensive pre-filing remedy likely requires that the filing officer have a broad authority to reject financial statements. So that basically means they're giving the Secretary of State and their offices even more power than they originally had. South Carolina is one state that has taken this approach, adopting statute that defines submissions that can be rejected by the Secretary of State's office given any of the following conditions. The financing statement is not created pursuant to UCC. It is intended for an improper purpose, such as to hinder, harass, or otherwise wrongfully interfere with a person's names, the same person, or both debtor and secured party, describes collateral not within the scope of the UCC, or is being filed for the purpose other than a transaction within the scope of the UCC. Grand Rise and C Alchemy. Hope everything's well with you. The obvious benefit of pre-filing remedy is that it can prevent a bogus financing statement from being filed in the first place. So this keeps it from being registered. As a result, a person targeted by harassment filing does not have to spend the time and resources often required to remove the filing from the public record, and they are spared the potential negative impact that the bogus financing statement could have on their credit, which may linger even after a filing has been expunged from their record. The other benefit important to the Secretaries of State as stewards of the public record is that this approach maintains the integrity of the public record by not allowing fraudulent information to enter into the public record. So, of course, that would be the most beneficial way to do it. But not every state is doing it. Right now, it's only South Carolina. The primary challenge states face when implementing a pre-filing remedy is the limitation of resources in the state filing office, meaning they don't have enough personnel. Pre-filing remedy requires active review of filings that come into the office on a daily basis, both in person as well as electronically. Staff must be trained to review incoming filings. And they must look for signs of fraud according to law. If an electronic filing statement cannot help to flag filings, in an electronic filing system cannot help to flag filings for this type of information, the work must be carried out by humans. So the other remedy is post-filing administrative remedy, meaning things that you can do after it's already been posted in the registry. Post-filing administrative remedy gives the filing office authority to take corrective action with respect to existing UCC financing statements. At least 14 states have a law authorizing this type of remedy. Once again, the designation of an individual debtor as a transmitting utility typically provides grounds for canceling a financing statement and or removing it from the public record. Laws in other states are broader. In Montana and North Carolina, for example, the filing office may cancel and remove financing statements from the record, and that has been determined to have been fraudulently, wrongfully, or improperly filed. A post-filing remedy can be most effective if it provides the filing office with the territory to remove a bogus filing from the record. As part of this process, the state may be required to provide some type of due process to the relevant parties. In Montana, the filing office must give the parties notice and provide an opportunity to respond prior to removing a filing from the records. In West Virginia, the Secretary of State may commence an administrative proceeding to remove a filing from the record after publishing notice of the proceeding in the state registry. By authorizing the filing office to remove a bogus financing statement from the record, victims of the harassment filings do not have to seek removal of the filing through the courts, which can reduce costs of both victims and the state, speed up the termination and removal process, and provide a less complicated means for addressing fraudulent filings. The main challenge posed by this approach is that the victim of the harassment filing may only find out about this fraudulent filing after encountering trouble securing credit or other conduct, some kind of property-related transaction. So the next form of release is your post-expedited judicial relief. Post-filing expedited judicial relief authorities corrective action on an existing financing statement through an accelerated judicial review process with no fee acquired to bring about the action. See Appendix 3. These laws are very similar to the judicial remedy proposed by NASS and IACA bogus filing task force. At least 9 states have adopted this type of law, and others have considered them in the recent years. In most cases, state law authorizes a person who believes he or she is named as a debtor on a fraudulent financing statement to file a motion for expedited judicial review of the filing, and the court may order that the filing be removed from the records. Victims of a harassment filing are provided with a faster, less costly means for obtaining declaratory judgment or expungement order from the courts to have the filing removed. In some states, this approach has significantly improved the time frame of resolving questions about the disputed filings. And the benefit of this approach, it seems to be the court system continues to bear responsibility for handling these issues, which means that the Secretary of State's office does not need to have additional resources, training, and staffing to provide a faster, less costly solution. One of the drawbacks of the expedited judicial relief is that this still places significant burdens on the victims. Although there may not be a fee for filing a motion for expedited judicial review, it is still a court action, and a victim will often need to hire an attorney and pay the associated costs. Since this remedy also places burden on the courts, they may be unwilling to support it. And then there is the post-filing criminal and civil penalties. Criminal and civil penalties are designed to deter and punish those who attempt to file spurious claims using UCC financing statements. At least 15 states have laws that make it a crime to fraudulently submit a filing. Typically, the first offense is a misdemeanor crime, while subsequent offenses are charged as a felony. However, a few states, including Minnesota, Texas, make it outright felony to attempt to harass someone using a fraudulent financing statement. Minnesota and Texas are the 2 states that are like, you know what? We're not even gonna make it a misdemeanor. It's straight up felony. At least 15 states have laws authorizing civil penalties. Many of these laws permit victims to seek damages, court costs, attorney fees, related expenses, and injunctions. In a few cases, fines may also be imposed. In West Virginia, a fine is $500 per fraudulent filing, while a fraudulent filer in Georgia can be charged up to $10,000 for his or her offenses. Criminal and civil penalties can help prevent the filing of bogus financing statements and are an important part of a comprehensive approach to the bogus filing problem. However, penalties alone may not provide adequate relief to the victims of the bogus filings. Conclusion. As long as sovereigns and other members of fringe anti-government groups continue to thrive, state filing offices will need to consider laws and policies that deter and defend against bogus UCC filings while maintaining the open draw. Thrust behind revised Article 9, Secretaries of State and other state policymakers must decide how they can best equip state filing laws, law enforcement, and members of the public to mitigate the impacts of fraudulent filings and harassment liens. State solutions must cover a number of problematic filings, including harassment filings, straw man filings, and deceptive authentication filings. Several pre-filings and post-filing approaches are currently available along the NASS and IACA approach. And these include strong criminal and civil penalties for those who file bogus UCC claims. The role and authority of the Secretary of State are important aspects of this work. For states to seek and expand the authority of the filing offices, budgets may need to be increased to cover all the additional staffing, training, and other additional costs associated with any changes in the process. Moving forward, it remains to be seen how imposing a new investigative duty of the State Secretary of State will impact the number of fraudulent UCC filings in states that may have taken this approach. Additionally, it is unclear whether the adoption of the non-uniform legislation impacts the reliability of state filing systems. These issues will undoubtedly be important discussions of topics for the members of NASS. In the meantime, let me scroll up. I don't know where we at. Conclusion. In the meantime, it is clear that the nation's Secretary of States are indeed interested in doing more to assist the targets of fraudulent UCC filings and counterfeit claims. Costly, time-consuming remedies are not providing adequate relief for these citizens, and the fallout is putting a strain on backlogged courts and busy state filing offices. So this is just the beginning. Grand Rising, Big Hawk. This is not the end. So they're seeking even more remedies. Even where an expedited judicial review is available, the burden of litigation is still on the victims. A remedy that allows state filing offices to subvert a bogus filing and or allows it to quickly remove the record. In conjunction, the strong criminal and civil penalties will likely be the most effective way for states to alleviate the burdens of bogus filing victims. So these are the appendix, and it deals with the states. And I'm not going over the states because that's going to be way too much. But it covers each state and what each state is doing to handle this issue and this problem. So either this is an elaborate hoax or this is real. So
sound like to me that they are putting themselves in position to where they can start seeking damages and charges without the victim. That's what it seems like is going to go on next. The state can come after you without the victim even saying anything. How they deal with domestic violence, the victim don't have to pay or press charges, the state can.
Exactly.
That's what it sounds like they lean into.
Yeah, well, I'm a transition and go back to the regular page, and I'm coming off my screen, so I'm hitting the stinger right now. So give me a second.
Like we said, relatives, just bringing this information to the forefront, because there's a whole lot of people out there telling you, oh, use the UCC codes, but they can't even tell you how they work and what it is.
Yeah, so I put the link to that PDF in the chat. I put it in there earlier, but I put it in there again. And you can also go on your own and look up cases where people are filing these UCC codes have actually received time in prison. So again, understanding that many people that are looking up these UCC codes and that are interested in finding out how they can provide themselves with some financial relief can end up getting in this situation. The code words and the buzzwords are words that they're, when I say they, I'm talking about the FBI, are using to keep track of who's doing what. They already got the playbook. They already know the packet that's being sold. They've read the packet. They know the packet. They've even put what the buzzwords and the keywords are to look for, what terminologies and how the Section 9, which deals with the railroad and transportation, is fraudulently being used. So they already know. So it's not like people are getting away with anything. They're just building a case. And like I'm anticipating, they're going to build that case for 6 years, past the time frame or where the normal filings, which is 5 years, would have been surpassed at, because it shows your intent that it wasn't a mistake that you used a Section 9, because Section 9 is indefinite. Go ahead.
I'm glad you said that, because that answers the question why people can do it and they feel like they're getting away with it. Because you're not going to know anything from the FBI till 6 years later. They're going to make sure that that was your intent to commit fraud. So around that 6-7 year, they'll be knocking on the door, kicking in the windows.
And you got to realize too, majority of the states, at least 15 of them, are using civil and criminal penalties, which means you're going to receive a fine, a $500 fine for each instance that the UCC code was filed, and also you're going to receive an instance, a $500 fine for each time you ignore the termination request. So if you've been doing this for 6, 7, 8 years, you can acquire some hefty fines. And just so you understand, penalties and interest that the government accrue are 24% compounded daily. So you can end up with a significant debt on your head. Go ahead, Bones. Go ahead, Bones. What you gonna say?
Oh no, you touched it.
Michael Robinson says, yeah, there's an Indian on my Facebook page saying you can use it to become a private person. BS. I chose not to comment on that post.
It's my brother.
So here's the thing that I'm going to suggest. Anybody that's still talking about UCC codes, just send them the link to this and have them address that. Because this lets them know that the Association of Secretary of States are aware of what's going on and they have a countermeasure. So if it's legal to do it, then why would the United States government have a task force created for the explicit purpose to stop it?
Even more, TMA. Didn't the United States government create the UCC code?
Yep, they sure did.
So it's their code. So how is the person using the code going to claim to know more than the person that made the code on what it was made for and how it should be used? That's the part that always gets me. Oh, that's not what they meant when they made it. Really? This what they said they meant when they made it?
UCC equals the devil. And again, the only reason why we did some research on this is because we were being asked, why don't we use UCC codes when it comes to the IRS and when it comes to business? So hopefully you have a better understanding of why we do not. And at the end of the day, if this is bogus information and it's fraudulent and it's a hoax, please provide the information that says that it is, because we do not have a problem admitting that we are wrong and making a public apology. Because at the end of the day, our goal and our intent is to get this right and make sure that people who are trying to seek relief and do the right thing have the appropriate and correct information. So, but if this information is real and people are doing this, just know and understand, based off of this documentation, not me, this is not TMH saying it, this is not a conscious assembly saying it, but the FBI considers anybody that uses these tactics as domestic terrorists, which automatically puts them in the category and subject to the laws under the Patriot Act. Meaning, when they come get you, you don't get a lawyer.
You know what? I think that's the next thing that we should break down, the Patriot Act, because a lot of people are really not aware of what it states, I see.
How can He says we need to know this and why it does not equate to Aborigines. Well, at the end of the day, when it comes to autonomous people, Aborigines, American Indians, Native Americans, things of that nature, if you, and again, I'm gonna put this disclaimer out here. I can only talk about the things that I know that works. So this statement that I'm about to make is not the only way for you to, I guess for lack of better terms, to redesignate yourself or to claim who you are. So I'm not putting that out there as this is the only way, and any other way is bogus. For what I know, for what I've experienced, and for what has been proven, in order for you to become a recognized sovereign nation or sovereign citizen, you have to be in a government to government group or associated with a group that has a government to government relationship with the United States government. If you are not in a pre-existing government to government nation that has that relationship, then you cannot be considered a part of a sovereign nation. You can't. From my experience. If you have proof that you can, please by all means present it, because that gives people more options. I'm all for options, but I'm for legal options. I'm for the options that keep people out of jail and keeps the FBI from busting down your door. And like I said, for those people that want to bang on their chest and say you scared to get your door bust down, do me a favor. Show me a recording where somebody busted your door down and you stood there like a man or a woman and took it. I doubt you'll do that. And apparently you probably ain't never been shot at or fired a firearm at anybody. So stop it. Because that type of brave talk behind the computer don't mean nothing. So with that being said, we're looking to help people do things the legal and lawful way. And make sure that we're not unintentionally putting people in harm's way. Because again, we understand that people are going to be looking for information. They're going to be looking for relief, and they're going to be trying to provide for their families. You know, having the correct title, statute, status is important. But making sure that it's done correctly and effectively so that it can't be taken away from you is probably more important than just running willy-nilly and trying stuff without any verification. Because if you truly believe that there's nothing new under the sun and what you're doing is new under the sun, then either your actions is contradictory or your words is contradictory, which basically means you are a walking, talking contradiction. Why anybody would follow a walking, talking contradiction, I will never know. Go ahead, Bones. So
no, I said,
So hopefully this helps. And again, we put the link in the chat. And if someone talks to you about UCC, you don't want to argue with them, the best thing to do is provide them with this document and have them address it. Give them the opportunity to pick this document apart. There's no need to argue with somebody. Because if this document is in fact truth and the truth, it will stand on its own. Now the burden of proof is on them, because we're presenting information that states that you can get locked up and or significantly fined for filing what they deem as fraudulent UCC codes. So now that we've put this proof out here, the burden of proof is no longer on us or the National Association of Secretary of States. The burden of proof is on these gurus or these teachers who are encouraging people to use UCC codes to correct their status, authenticate their documentation, or get rid of their debt. So why would you
people behind to a jail cell? That's what you UCCing.
So there is no need to argue with somebody. Just give them this document and say, hey, can you explain this? Why are the National Association of the Secretary of States having countermeasures and lobbying to increase the effectiveness of what the Secretary of State's office is responsible for when it comes to these UCC filings and being able to remove this off the registry. Now they got to. Now the person claiming they're the expert has to respond to this because it's proof. So at the end of the day, I would love for there to be multiple remedies for our people. But I prefer for these remedies to be backed with facts and proving success. I mean, that's just me. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's the only way I operate. So.
And I'm gonna add this on. It's simple. We have to get to the point when a person tells us anything, even when it sounds too good to be true, to take these same devices that we walk around on and just research. Some of this stuff you can do in a less than 10-minute research. It didn't take us that long to find the PDF on the UCC filings hat, did it?
No, it took me less than 10 minutes.
But people quick to tell you what work and what don't work. Question everything, especially if it definitely sounds too good to be true. There's no magic pill. There's no solution to where you're going to hear it today and tomorrow we wake up or free people. It doesn't work that way. We got to be willing to do the real work. Stop trying to shortcut our way to the end. Shortcuts just bring in more work and more hardship for you and the following generation. And TMH, you know what else be funny to me?
What's up?
These people scream, the hell with the government. They don't have to listen to the government. They don't want to listen to the government. So why are you trying to take money from your so-called straw man if you don't like the government and don't want the government?
I don't know. C.A.B says, best thing to do is learn the law for real. That means law school. Unfortunately, there's no Bones. He said Bones took my thoughts. Yeah, because
My bad.
Because according to this, the UCC codes are being reviewed by law students. So for those gurus claiming to know the law, there are law students that are actually looking at these codes and validating and verifying this information.
Well, we just not going to address that law is never final, that law is constantly growing, that the only thing they have to go on is the case before the next one?
That's true.
Law isn't putting that on and it just stayed. Every day there's a new case or somebody tries something new. So the law is almost like a constitution. A living, breathing entity is always changing and growing. Nobody knows the law. If people gotta go to law school 6, 8, 10 years and still keep going back for classes every time something new come out because the new laws drop every year, who's the master of the laws again?
Bro, you're good. Your
companies got whole law. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're right. Your guess is as good as mine. The laws are constantly changing, and so to me it's crazy for someone. And I'm not talking about the people that are listening to these people. I'm more frustrated and agitated with these people that are self-proclaimed gurus. They claim they know the law, but they don't want to prove anything, and then they want to test your manhood, talking about something you scared to had a police knock on your door. Man, please don't. That old reverse psychology bull ain't never worked on me.
Well, I for one don't want nobody kicking in my door, and especially someone who can kick in my door that I legally can't do nothing back in return to. Nah, I'll pass. Y'all can have that story. I'm good.
You can have all of it.
Yeah.
Welcome, Carrie.
And here's the thing that I find interesting. You're gonna question somebody's manhood about getting their door kicked in. So let me rephrase this first. I am by no stretch of the imagination, and nor is the Conscious Assembly, question anybody's manhood who has a job or anybody's womanhood, because we all got to do what we got to do to take care of our families. So,
Yes, sir.
if it wasn't for the fact that I got let go by my job, I would still be working for a company. But I run a company now. So, with this being said, don't be talking about some bravery and scared somebody gonna kick your door in when number one, you got a job and you work for somebody. Number two, you are on public assistance and you get money from the government. If you so bold and you so brash, get off the system. Run your own company. Generate your own income. That takes bravery. Because anybody can sit behind a screen and talk about you scared to have your door kicked in. While you got to get ready for work the next day. Or whether you waiting on the government to pay you because you got a disability or something. Don't give me that brave BS. Stop it.
Yeah, because all you doing is leading our people astray and screwing over the next generations. You know, and this information is important because in this community alone, how many of us have seen this spread around and get our people jammed up? Or how many of us personally know people that were using these UCC codes who are jammed up right now? But then, like me and Kim said earlier, and others will tell you, people quick to tell you, oh, this works, this works, this works, this works, but can't show you how. Let's stop looking for the magic of beans, y'all.
Like my mentality is this: if you so big and bad, and you such a warrior Indian, the FBI calling you a terrorist. I'm not. Have a conversation with them. Kerry, you got your hand raised. Go ahead, bro. Go in. The floor, the mic is yours.
Peace to the chat. Thank you, Tom. Peace to the chat. Peace to the panel. What's up, y'all? How y'all feeling?
I feel great. I'm just frustrated. Go ahead.
That's good.
Yeah,
Woosah.
Hey. That's it.
That's what's up. Bones kept stealing all my thoughts out of my head. Every time I started texting, he'd say it before I finished.
My bad.
I'm like, man, but yeah, he's absolutely correct, man. And I seen somebody typed in the chat, they're like, man, I want to go to school, but I don't want to take the bar. And I don't know the beef. I think the oath taking is the beef with taking a bar, and that's cool. I understand that. Yeah, unfortunately, the colonizers they got a strong hold on the law writing and everything right now. And what y'all said previously is also correct. They have law students that are looking at laws and everything and that are changing the laws constantly. That's what's going on. That's what happens with the law. And these gurus, these people that's been doing this sovereign citizen movement stuff, and it did come from a European mindset. Yeah, that's not the way to go. And the best thing to do is to attend law school and then know what you're talking about. And that gives you access to things that regular people don't have access to, like the current laws they're talking about, whatever they plan on changing and different stuff like that before it gets to the public. No, I relinquish the mic.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because a lot of times these so-called teachers and gurus, they're teaching you federal law to try to use in a local municipal court. That's not going to work. You have to know the laws for that district.
That's like going onto a basketball court trying to use football rules. It won't work. That happened to me. That actually happened to me. I went in, I stopped the courts with the federal law, and I missed the court date. So they tripled my bond, threw me in jail, and I had to get it. I ended up getting a lawyer. When the lawyer came to see me and talked to me, he said, everything that you're putting in is right and correct, but we can't use that. I can't use it because we're in a state court. I'm a state lawyer and I can't use federal law. Now you can keep that in there and prolong it until they bring it to federal courts, but you'll sit in jail for 2 years. So there's some truth to it, but like anything, man, you can find loopholes or whatever in anything, but you still chancing yourself getting locked up. And that was something petty, what I did. But if you do something to somebody, ain't no way around it. You can prolong it, but it's still gonna happen. If you do a crime, and some people say like, as long as you don't hurt people, it's not a crime. My charge was fraud. That's a crime because you're misleading somebody, and if you do something to a company, that's still a crime. But that's a deeper conversation for like a law class or something like that. But
remember, corporations are people.
Yeah, that's like that. That as long as you don't hurt nobody, it's not a crime. Like it's more to that. You can't just say that because you gotta figure out what context you're using that in. You're saying that in. I yield the mic.
And Brother Terry, you're not speaking from speculation or what nobody told you. This is because you know from self-experience, right?
Yeah, study groups, law classes. Like right now, I'm speaking with it's a company, y'all can look it up. I'm from New Orleans. There's a company in New Orleans called the First 72, and it was started by a lady, Miss Kelly. She's an attorney. So what they do is they help people with legal aid. So it's not something that's just surface level of what I'm working on right now. I'm not talking from somebody told me. Like I said, I did it. Like I freeze up the court. So people say, let's go in there and stand on your square. And that's used out of context, but I'm not gonna get into that. It's more to it. The best thing to do is, man, I'm coming at these people been in school for years. These judges been in school for years, 10 and 15 years and stuff. Been doing this for a long time. You think you're gonna come in there with 2, 5, 6, 7 years of YouTube experience, Google experience, and work your way around the course that easy? If you get through, that's because they let you through. Believe that. Don't get cocky or arrogant. You know what I'm saying? But hey, yellow mic.
And you touched on something too a little earlier, where this whole sovereign movement and this implication of the UCCs. It's kind of funny that people say that they're trying to get away from Europeans, they're trying to get away from the United States government. But wasn't this whole thing created by a racist European?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, one of the dudes is still in jail. Man, when I found out, because I'm a real knowledge seeker, and if somebody come to me with something, I wanna find out where did it come from. Like what are you talking about? I won't just take your word for it. I'll do the research. And I did the research on the Sovereign Citizen movement, and then they was talking about like surnames and everything, but they was talking about surnames with thing. I can't figure out. I can't think of the name of it. The shield looking thing with like some of them have lions on it, some of them have the Florida lever on it. But anyway, they'll have that with your name underneath it. It went back to those days.
You talking about coat of arms?
Coat of arms, yeah, using that. It went to that. Like that was the first form of that they used to put that on everything when they first started doing the sovereign citizen thing. When they started saying I'm a living flesh being and all that talk. That was the first thing they did. And if you look up where coat of arms come from. But yeah, it's definitely it was the Europeans getting mad at the courts. The judges started leaking out little loopholes and stuff like that. And that's how that came about.
I want to welcome everybody to the chat that I missed while I was reading. Grand Rising James Gilmore, Grand Rising Macadam 1. If I missed you, please forgive me. Glad you were here. And again, this information was put out because someone requested information on UCC codes. And again, if this is bogus and the National Association of Secretary of States is making fraudulent claims and you have proof that this is fraudulent, please provide the factual information. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure we provide our brothers and sisters with information that's going to help them benefit their communities and their tribes. So this is not taking a stab at anybody or trying to make somebody feel bad or taking a shot, because I ain't got time to be taking shots at nobody personally. You know, I only respond when somebody take a shot at me. And like I said, if you're really that bad, this is one thing I can promise you. Everybody know my address. And for those of y'all taking shots, I don't know yours. So with that being said, stop beating on your chest and come see me. But I digress. At the end of the day, it's about getting this information out and helping people. Because if we really claim that we're for the betterment of our people, we cannot be on some old BS about I don't need to prove it. When you speak, you say you don't need to prove it, but then you about asking somebody else to prove something. That's some of the most hypocritical stuff I've ever seen in my life. That makes you no different than the colonizers that you banging against. That makes you no different than any other organization that you banging against. They have to provide proof, but you don't. Yep. So who are you? That's my question. Who are you? And again, if what the FBI is saying about you and your cause is so wrong, then go see them. Don't get mad at me, because I ain't the one calling you a domestic terrorist. I'm not the one putting resources out there like this to counteract what you're doing. You ain't got an issue with me. You got a much bigger issue. Your issue is with the FBI. So if you really rogue and you really bad, have a conversation with them. Give them a call. Talk to them. I'm sure they'll come out and visit you. There's an FBI representative in every state if you really that bad. But I doubt you are. So stop banging your chest like you doing something.
Hey Tom.
What's up?
They're not gonna do that, bro. They're gonna pick the path of least resistance, or the path they think is least resistance. You know what I'm saying? And people too lazy, they looking for the shortcut, looking for the short way out. They don't want to go to school, or they don't want to they don't want to take the necessary time out to do what's required to make that change. Like we don't need to get in the office and stuff like that. We don't need to. That's you do. You need to have council members. You need to get in the places where they're make. I'm back, and that was a. You need to put your people in those positions. Point blank. Period.
And that's true.
I yield the mic.
And you did that.
Go ahead, Bone. Sorry.
Yeah, Military mentioned that because that's what we state is that starting at home, starting in your neighborhood and your community, on local levels, to really start making change, learning how it works, learning the inner workings of your municipality. You can't change anything if you don't understand all the mechanisms in place to keep it. What he said is true, that we be willing to take the time out to learn the right way and the proper way. We're doing this for the next generations. We got to get out of the mindset of we want the benefits now. We want to see the success of it now. And realize maybe our responsibility is to start changing the narrative. We learn the information and we put it out there and we pass it down. We got to start somewhere.
And I want to, me, go on record and let people know what Attentionist Assembly is and what our purpose is. Attentionist Assembly's whole mission and whole goal as a nonprofit organization 501c3 is to help individuals do their genealogy, find their tribe. If their tribe chooses to accept their melanated ancestors and bring them on so we can work together and do a better job of getting on code, we will help that tribe. If said tribe chooses to remain, if they are bigoted and racist, we're going to deal with them. Well, the government will deal with them. We ain't going to have to deal with them. And at the end of the day, we want to help people help their community and help their tribe. And the reason why I continue to say that is because this is the only way that I know that works. I don't know about any other way that doesn't work. I don't know about someone claiming to be indigenous and claiming to be aboriginal and then claiming a tribe. I don't know if that works. But I will tell you what the government says about that type of speech. And I'm gonna put the link because you know me. This was talked about yesterday, but it bears repeating. And it states, sovereigns sometimes say they are subject only to God's law or to common law, meaning the U.S. legal system as they believe it exists before the conspiracy. They may declare themselves independent nations, join fictitious American Indian tribes, or attempt to create a replacement government within the sovereign community. I'm going to repeat that. Sovereigns sometimes say that they are subject only to God's law or to common law, meaning the U.S. legal system as they believe it exists before their conspiracy. They may declare themselves independent nations, join fictitious American Indian tribes, or attempt to create a replacement government within the sovereign community. Sovereigns believe official government documents with names in all capital letters refer to the straw man, which is why so many deny that they are the persons named in the court documents. The straw man theory also underlies sovereigns' reliance on the Uniform Commercial Code, since they say most legal matters as financial transactions. Government employees are in on the scam, they say, which is why they don't accept sovereign arguments and documents. So, I'm not saying that you're creating a fictitious Native American tribe.
But what is one?
I'm not saying that you are a sovereign citizen. I'm not saying you are using fictitious, you're using felonious and these crazy codes. The FBI is saying that. The Federal Bureau of Investigations. So don't get mad at me. I ain't the person you need to come for. The people or organizations you need to come for is the people you got an issue with. I'm just reading what they said. So if there's something that you got that says something different, please provide. Don't get mad at me. Go ahead, Bones.
I got a question. What would they consider a fictitious American Indian tribe, if I may ask?
Well, a fictitious Native American or Indian tribe would be a tribe that does not have a pre-existing government-to-government relationship with the United States, the 13 colonies, or any other European entity. Remember, there are over 500.
So you mean I just
go ahead
with that? I just can't put a name and call that a tribe and run with that.
I mean, you can do what you want to do until they tell you can't. I'm not here to tell you what you can't do. I'm not here to tell you what you can do. I'm here to tell you what I know that works. And based off of this document that I dropped in the back chat, they're calling that an act of terrorism. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of the United States government, backed by the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Like I said, people banging on their chest like, you scared to have your door knocked in? Okay. First of all, I ain't scared of nobody and no man. That's why my address is public. Does anybody know where you live? Call me out again. Put an address on it. Fake bravado is just that, fake bravado. I'm easy to find. So before you open your mouth, the question you need to ask, and before you start listening to these people with this fake bravado, the question that needs to be asked is, do you know where they live? Can you find them? Does anybody in the community know who they are? Because I'm easy to find. So you can do fake bravery all you want to. I'm sorry. I'm being petty. That's your stop. Go ahead, boss. Bones.
No, like we say again, we just here to bring the info to the forefront. So people will start knowing what the reality really is. That yes, there is a way for us to change this. And there's a process to it. It's first finding out who we are, finding your tribe, tying back into them, taking this information and these resources and these mechanisms and applying them. So we become self-sufficient. Just like Brother Kerry said, that means some of us who are passionate about law got to be the ones to take the time out and learn law for the future generation. Then that's what we do. If some of us have skill sets in science and stuff, we take that time out to learn the science of our ancestors, so we pass it down, and that's what we do. We got to be willing to do the work. And yes,
Hey, I
it's
don't
going to
know
be
what I
rough, and
just.
yes, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Bones. I just came back and I got another phone call, but I don't know what I just missed. I think you stole my thoughts again, maybe, because it sounded like you're saying what something along the lines that I was about to speak on, and I'll make it real short. What I absolutely love about oh,
Uh-oh. Carrie? Where'd he go? Due Division says all pre-Columbian tribes are legitimate, whether the government acknowledges them or not. Just like a baby. No such thing as an illegitimate baby. So at the end of the day, man, I don't, I understand people are trying to do what they got to do, take care of their families. I'm just annoyed at individuals that are scamming this community, or scamming any community for that matter. So that's where my annoyance comes from. It's not that I'm annoyed at anybody on the chat or in the chat, but at the end of the day, if you have a platform or you speak on a platform as a guest or a show, we have a responsibility to make sure this information is right, because people are listening, people are paying attention, and then people are taking action. So if you're not man or woman enough to provide the proof of what you're saying, yeah, I got a problem with you. And I ain't got a
Thomas,
problem with telling you. Go ahead.
I was one of those audience members at a time about to file some paperwork, some straw man, this and that. Yeah, I'm glad I'm hearing this now, and I'm glad I was procrastinating. I didn't file no paperwork.
Because I mean, it could literally change what happens to you and your family, and everybody that you're associated with. This ain't a game. It ain't like the FBI gonna knock on your door and be like, we were just playing. We just wanted to scare you to see how much of a man or woman you are. They are going to make a spectacle of your life.
Boo. Oh, peace, Carrie. Brother Carrie came back in the room. You finishing your statement?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
yes. What I absolutely love about A2 is we don't come and just complain about the problems. We actually we come with a solution also. And like Tim H gave the disclaimer earlier, what A2 is actually about. So I just wanted to highlight that that there is a solution. We're not just telling you don't go after sovereign citizen movement, and that's the end. That's the end of our message. Don't get hung up on that. We actually have a solution. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I absolutely love that we have a solution and not just complaining about the problem. I yield the mic.
And that's the thing. That's a solution. It's not the solution. I encourage any solutions that's backed with proof. Like I said, I don't know when we became a society of the don't need to prove it movement. I don't know when that happened, but it definitely needs to stop. And if you part of that movement, yeah, I got a problem with you. It's nothing personal, but I just got a problem with you because you basically anyway. I just got a problem with it. So I'm gonna leave it at that. And we've put out and we've provided enough information of what we're doing that's going to help people. For if you believe that it's not going to work, you have more than enough documentation to scrutinize, to disprove. I challenge anybody out there to disprove a nonprofit organization. I challenge anybody out there to disprove a corporation. I challenge anybody out there to disprove HUD Section 3 or HUD Section 9. I challenge you to disprove it. Please disprove it. Please. Because there are so many entities that are taking advantage of this. Nipsey Hussle was one of them. So it's okay for Nipsey Hussle to use it. It's okay for Nipsey Hussle to have a nonprofit, which is a 501c that some people bang against. It's okay for Nipsey Hussle to take advantage of HUD Section 3, which you call a caste system. But you laud that he do. But then again, you're scared. You scared of your goons because they'll probably knock you upside your head for saying something bad about Nipsey. So just stop it. You can't disprove this information because one, it ain't ours. Two, it's our ancestors. And if you're really about respecting them, why don't you respect their process? Unless you have another agenda. If that's the case, then you got a whole different set of challenges and a whole different set of problems that have absolutely nothing to do with me. Dude Division says too many people have fake degrees from Scam U. So we're not here to tell you what you're supposed to do. We're not trying to be the YouTube police. We're not trying to be your daddy. What we're gonna do is provide you with information if we see pitfalls. And if you got a problem with somebody showing you pitfalls, then the problem is not the pitfall. The problem is with the person that's got the problem with the pitfall. Think about it.
And you know what's funny? It'd be a hard thing to disprove when the Tontonist Assembly is here every rising as a 501c nonprofit organization, using these same mechanisms that we're bringing to the community. So go ahead.
Dude Vision says, I don't want to see a 7-hour rebuttal on this show. If you disagree, call the number at the top of the screen. Yeah, I mean, the number's been there. It's been there for what? Almost a month and a half? If you disagree, bring facts. Don't bring a bunch of rhetoric. Bring facts. We don't do I am the proof. No. I need to see some proof.
And if you're shy, you can email us at untouchassembly@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Ooh.
We don't do debates. We do documents. So if you got some documents with some proof on it, we can have a civil discourse. Won't nobody kick you out. Won't nobody disrespect you. Won't nobody call you out your name or nothing like that unless you start acting like you don't have any home training. Oh, then you most definitely will be booted forever. Because you're not gonna come over here and disrespect this platform nor the people in the chat.
Wee.
And when it comes to Tontonist Assembly, again, one of the things that separate this channel from many other channels, if you ever have a problem with anything that we do, there's an address that you can come visit. There's a phone number that you can always call. I'm not hiding. So that's something we can say that very many channels can't say. You know where to find me if there's ever a problem. If you want to converse. So LJ Free says, why has this been said that it's weird when the average person utilizes PIH codes but savvy when the celebs use it? And yet UCC is peddled at every turn. She says, come on now. I don't know. That's a good question.
Some people will watch you do it and utilize it for themselves. It's sad, but it's true. That a lot of us, off of this entertainment culture that been bombarded on us, so used to being entertained. So we rather sit down and watch other people access these mechanisms instead of doing it for ourselves.
So again, you know, for those that are insinuating or claiming that we're not doing nothing, we are doing stuff. And you're going to continue to see stuff get done. You're going to continue to see people in the community getting helped. You're going to continue to see people in the community start utilizing these nonprofits. You're going to continue to see people in the community start getting applications to tribes. And eventually what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing some of these tribes that are racist and bigoted. They're going to end up being visited by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So here's the thing about me, because I can't, you know, I can only speak for me. I don't care what color you are or what race you are. I ain't scared of no man, no woman. I'll talk to anybody. If I got an issue with you, I'm gonna tell you. Don't matter what tint you are. I'm not scared of anybody. But I think a lot of y'all are scared of Europeans. That's why y'all won't talk to them. That's just my personal opinion. So,
Uh-oh.
That's why there's so much hate. But yet you're working for them. You're taking the benefits from them. But then you get on these YouTube channels behind these icons and got a whole bunch of rhetoric to say, and you ain't got no address. It don't matter. They still know where you live. So know that to be true. So yeah, we definitely gonna have to do. We definitely gonna have to do a segment on the Patriot Act, because all these people that claim law and talk about law, don't nobody ever talk about the Patriot Act. Why is that? Because that's a law that's pertinent. That's a law that's important. That's some information that everybody need to know about. But don't nobody that claim law ever talk about it. Why is that, Bones?
Makes me wonder. Make me wonder.
Doodle Vision says BIA, BIE, IOU, and sometimes Y. So here's my challenge, and this is a big one for those who got enough gonads to do it. I doubt you do, but I'm gonna put the challenge out here anyway. You know how people on YouTube, they do challenges, right? So here's my challenge to you. For those of you pushing UCC codes, I challenge you to have a debate with an FBI agent. I challenge you to have a debate with somebody from the National Association of Security of the State, to have a debate with them and tell them they're wrong. I challenge you to do that.
Uh-oh.
I challenge you. Prove them wrong. Don't prove me wrong. Prove them wrong. Do you think that's going to happen, Bones? I doubt it. Because they scared to get their door kicked in, too. I don't care how much smack they talk.
Mm-hmm.
That's my challenge to y'all. For those pushing those UCC codes and that Sovereign Citizens Act, I challenge you to have a debate with an FBI agent or someone that sits on the board of the National Association of Secretary of States. Because these are the individuals that's calling what you're doing terroristic acts. So since you so big and bad and so bold, challenge them, debate them.
The Charlie Murphy, challenge him. All right.
He says,
make sure your peoples is there.
Doodle Vision says, and don't try to run to Baja. The FBI is international.
Yeah.
Mr.
Come
TJ
on now.
says bank
Stop.
card, not the cab. I'm just saying, man. It's just time for the BS to stop. You can have all the issues you want with me. I mean, I'm easy to find. So the FBI easy
Register
to the FBI easy to find too.
24/7.
And I'm not
You got
int-
nothing better.
and look, and I'm not intimating that I'm the FBI. So stop it.
No.
What I mean is they have an address and a phone number, unlike some of you. So, so anything else anybody got to say? Anybody want to add before we head off
I
into
mean,
this beautiful weekend and liberate some more people and help them get associated and connected? Oh, shout out to Pamela Hall. We definitely need to get with you so we can do your community spotlight so we can uh, find out how everything is going. And if you need any help with your application, and anybody else that has someone in their community that they want to spotlight and they want to put information out about that needs to be shared, some things that's going on in the American Indian community or the Atanchis community or the Aboriginal community or whatever you choose to call yourself, let us know so we can get that information out because this ain't about us. This is about y'all. I'm sorry, Bones. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no problem. No problem. Now, thank you, Pamela Hall, for trusting us and coming forward with your information and allowing us to put the process to work to show the community and everybody around that it does work. Taking the time out to do your genealogy, finding your tribe, tying back to your tribe, trusting the process. And we thank you for that.
Gordon Moon says they will say T.M. Major's an agent. He said, watch.
I said, we done heard it all before.
And that's funny because if I was an agent, why would my information be public? You can look me up. I'm easy to find.
I think we said every show, we all registered nonprofit organizations. So
I mean, I'm known throughout my community. You can talk up. You can come to Woodbridge, Virginia. Exit 160 off the highway or interstate. So whether you're going north or south on 95, exit 160. Come on, I'm right off that exit. Old Bridge Road, 1346, second floor. You'll see my sign on the building. So come ask about me. People know who I am. I'm not an agent. No.
I can vouch for you on that one. Thomas came to my house, so he been in my people house, and he been in my people house. So we don't associate with those type of people, and my cousin wouldn't be too fond of me bringing the police in his house. Like he'd be like, "What's up with that?" Not saying he doing nothing illegal, just saying he real. I guess he's real to himself and family oriented. If you're not family, you can't come. But yeah, and that's it. I yield the bite.
Pamela Hall said, "Lord, my old stomping grounds." Yeah, Pamela, I've been in that building since 2015. No, actually 2013. LJ Free said that agent talk is whack. The same ones calling one out agents act like superintendents. Ooh, good one.
Yeah. I love that one.
What they like to do is play on emotions and all that. So they're gonna throw that out there. He's an agent. He don't want us to be liberated. And then, all right, well, what a solution that? What's up? Because you must not want us liberated either. Because you ain't give us a solution. Yeah, all you doing is just rah talking. That's so see through to me.
I know Do Vision said whack 1988 slang. Yeah, I was a teenager then. He said superintendent equals Indian trader. Mm-hmm.
Yep. We covered them too. Only the ones that make you want to do them European type of culture things, i.e., sovereign citizenship. Oops, did I just say that?
Yeah, I mean that was that's a supremacist group. That sovereign citizen movement came out based off of the some of the civil rights movements. So
Mad at our ancestors.
hmm
Europeans wanted to form something and say they ain't have to listen to the laws and the rules because the world laws and the rules came from our ancestors.
yeah,
So go ahead and keep breaking away from the ancestors.
just being disrespectful. It's just wrong on so many levels.
But they giving honor though.
They can keep that. There ain't no bylaw or constitution that I've seen where that type of activity is honorable. Again, that I've seen. So, superintendent, your equals your intent is to be superior, or what supreme? Maybe not. I don't know. Possible.
Once again, the proof is in the pudding. You don't have to talk about it. You could be about it. I started this thing. I started calling the community the pudding. The community that speaks for you. Whatever's going on in the community, whatever's going on in your community, that'll prove it. Like what you're doing. You ain't got to come on YouTube and holler about this and that, you know. And you don't have to boast and brag about yourself and say, well, I'm just so great. I'm the great C.A.B. I ain't gotta say all that. The people gonna speak for me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Mike.
LJ Free says, check the fruit of the tree despite what the sign out front says, and listen to what people say and what they don't say. That's important. So, we got some work to do, good people. Doodle Vision says, I'm going live in 24 hours, straight right after this show, 23. Really, Doodle Vision? Really? I'm going live for 24 hours straight, right after this show. 23.5 hours of snoring.
Get that man a prize.
I see Patty Peters in the building, aka Doodle Vision.
Live and in full effect.
So we went straight into the daggone set the record straight without the transition screen. So my apologies, people.
It's Friday. It's Friday.
So, y'all got anything so we can let these good people go so they can go on with their day?
Nothing more. Just don't let nobody tell you anything. Research all information for yourself, even what we tell you.
Please.
Take the read it for yourself.
Question everything, especially us.
I think I speak for everybody when I say thank you for the platform. Thank you for everything y'all doing, and getting up for all these every morning and doing this show and the community work that y'all putting in. Thank you, and it's not in vain. I think y'all know that, and we appreciate it as a whole. I yield the mic.
Appreciate you as well. Thank you very much. No sellout. Any closing remarks?
Nope.
I guess on that note, like we always say, it's always fun with the relatives. I'll have a very blissful day. And until the next rising, peace.
Peace, y'all.